Listen to me carefully. What if I told you that at this very moment, while you are listening to these words, God is standing before a door that has your name written on it? A door of provision, a door of increase, a door of wealth that has been sealed not because you are unworthy, but because the appointed time had not yet come, and now that time has arrived. Many people live their entire lives begging for crumbs when God has prepared abundance. But abundance requires alignment, and alignment begins with awareness. If you miss this moment, you will not miss it because God failed. You will miss it because you did not recognize that the door was already opening. God does not open doors randomly. God is intentional. God is precise. God is strategic. When God opens a wealth door, it is not merely to give you money. It is to transform your mindset, reposition your authority, and shift your generational story. Wealth is not just currency, it is capacity. It is the ability to solve problems, to lift burdens, to expand influence, and to fulfill assignments that cannot be completed with empty hands. When God opens a door of wealth, He is saying, I trust you with more. But trust is never given without preparation. That is why some of you had to endure seasons of lack, misunderstanding, delay, and pressure. Not because God wanted you to suffer, but because He was strengthening your character so the wealth would not destroy you when it arrived. Many people want the blessing, but they are not prepared for the responsibility that comes with it. Wealth reveals who you really are. If your heart is unstable, wealth will amplify that instability. If your vision is unclear, wealth will scatter you in 1,000 directions. God does not release increase into chaos. God releases increase into order. That is why today is not just about expectation, it is about alignment. If you want to walk through the wealth door God is opening, your mind must be ready to receive it, your hands must be clean enough to hold it, and your spirit must be disciplined enough to manage it. There are people listening to this who have prayed for wealth for years, but deep inside, they still believe poverty is humility and struggle is holiness. That belief is not from God. God is not glorified by your constant lack. God is glorified when your life becomes evidence that obedience produces fruit. God is glorified when your provision becomes a testimony that silences doubt. God is glorified when your increase becomes a channel of impact. Scarcity does not make you righteous, obedience does. Wealth does not make you corrupt, disobedience does. The door God is opening is not a trap, it is a trust. Understand this clearly. When God opens a door, opposition increases. Resistance intensifies because unseen forces recognize that once you step through that door, your life will never return to the old level. That is why distractions suddenly appear. That is why fear tries to speak louder. That is why doubt begins to question your worthiness. But those voices are proof that the door is real. No one fights an imaginary breakthrough. No one resists a false promotion. If you feel pressure, it is because you are close. If you feel stretching, it is because expansion is happening. If you feel uncomfortable, it is because God is moving you out of survival mode into stewardship mode. God is not opening this door because you are perfect. God is opening this door because you are willing to learn, willing to obey, willing to grow, willing to change. Wealth requires wisdom, and wisdom begins with humility. Those who think they already know everything cannot receive instruction. Those who refuse correction cannot manage increase. God is looking for people who will not just shout when the door opens, but will walk carefully when they step inside. Celebration without discipline leads to collapse. Gratitude without governance leads to waste. God wants to bless you, but He also wants to keep you blessed. Some of you have been confused. because the door is opening quietly. You expected noise, you expected fireworks, you expected dramatic signs, but God often opens wealth doors through ideas, through connections, through opportunities that look ordinary at first. An idea that keeps returning to your mind is not random. A skill you have ignored is not insignificant. A conversation that keeps resurfacing is not accidental. God does not always send money. Sometimes God sends insight that produces money. God does not always drop provision. Sometimes God releases instruction that leads to provision. If you are waiting for wealth to fall from the sky, you may miss the door that is opening in your mind. Wealth doors open to those who are attentive. Pay attention to what excites you without exhausting you. Pay attention to what solves problems for others. Pay attention to what flows naturally when you stop doubting yourself. God hides wealth in solutions. God hides increase in value. When you become valuable, provision follows you. Chasing money will exhaust you, but pursuing purpose will attract provision. God does not bless laziness. God blesses diligence. God does not reward entitlement. God rewards stewardship. If you treat small things carelessly, you will mishandle big things. If you are faithful in little, your capacity expands for more. There is a reason God waited until now. You needed to unlearn certain habits. You needed to outgrow certain relationships. You needed to break certain cycles. Some of you had to be separated from people who would have drained your increase before you even enjoyed it. Some of you had to be misunderstood so you would stop depending on approval. Some of you had to be alone so your vision would become clear. Isolation was not punishment, it was preparation. Silence was not rejection, it was refinement. Delay was not denial, it was development. God knows the weight of what He is about to release. Wealth is heavy. It demands structure. It demands accountability. It demands maturity. That is why God trained you through pressure. Pressure reveals strength. Pressure builds endurance. Pressure forces you to think differently. If you survived seasons where you had nothing but still showed integrity, still showed generosity, still showed faith, then you are being qualified for seasons where you will have more. God tests hearts before He fills hands. Do not miss this door by thinking too small. Some of you are asking God for survival when God is offering expansion. You are praying to pay bills while God is calling you to build systems. You are asking for relief while God is preparing you for responsibility. Wealth is not just about comfort, it is about capacity. When God increases you, it is so you can carry more, handle more, influence more. If your vision is only about yourself, the door will remain narrow. If your vision includes impact, the door widens. Fear is the greatest enemy of wealth doors. Fear convinces you to stay where you are because it feels familiar. Fear tells why. Oh, not to take risks, not to invest, not to step forward. But growth always requires movement. God does not bless stagnation. God blesses motion aligned with wisdom. Courage does not mean recklessness. Courage means obedience despite uncertainty. You do not need to see the entire path. You only need to trust the next step. The door opens when you move, not when you wait endlessly for certainty. Some of you are standing before the door, but still holding on to old mindsets. You cannot carry poverty thinking into prosperity territory. You cannot expect abundance while constantly speaking lack. Words shape reality. What you speak consistently, you empower subconsciously. If you keep saying you will never have enough, your mind will sabotage opportunities to prove yourself right. Align your language with what God is releasing. Speak expectation, speak discipline, speak wisdom, speak increase not as arrogance, but as agreement with what God is doing. God is opening this door because the world needs what you carry. There are problems only you can solve. There are ideas only you can execute. There are people who will be impacted because you said yes. Wealth is a tool. Like any tool, it depends on who holds it. In the wrong hands, it destroys. In the right hands, it builds. God is not careless with tools. God places them intentionally. That is why integrity matters more than ambition. Ambition without integrity leads to collapse. Integrity with vision leads to legacy. Do not underestimate the season you are in. What looks like ordinary effort is actually extraordinary alignment. Showing up consistently, learning daily, improving quietly, managing wisely. These are the keys that unlock wealth doors. Breakthrough is rarely dramatic. It is often the result of sustained discipline over time. People celebrate the moment of arrival, but they ignore the years of preparation that add arrival possible. God sees what no one applauds. God rewards what others overlook. If you are waiting for permission to believe that wealth is part of your destiny, let this be your confirmation. God is not threatened by your success. God is not intimidated by your influence. God is not limited by your background. Your past does not disqualify you. Your mistakes do not cancel your future. What matters is your willingness to align now. The door does not open to who you were, it opens to who you are becoming. Some of you need to release guilt. Guilt will keep you poor even when opportunities surround you. Guilt convinces you that you do not deserve good things, but worthiness is not earned through perfection. It is granted through alignment. If God is opening the door, it means He has already accounted for your flaws. Stop punishing yourself for what God has already forgiven. Wealth flows where acceptance exists. Self-rejection blocks reception. Be careful not to miss the door by being offended by the process. Sometimes God uses people you do not expect. Sometimes the opportunity comes wrapped in inconvenience. Sometimes the instruction challenges your pride. But obedience is not about comfort, it is about trust. Trust that God sees what you cannot see. Trust that God knows the timing. Trust that God is not late. When the door opens, hesitation can be as dangerous as disobedience. This is a season of discernment. Not every open door is from God, but when God opens a door, there is peace even in uncertainty. There is clarity even in complexity. There is strength even in stretching. Learn to recognize the difference between pressure that drains you and pressure that develops you. One exhausts, the other expands. The door God opens will challenge you, but it will not compromise you. Wealth requires systems. Emotion cannot manage increase. Discipline must take the lead. Budgeting is not lack-minded, it is wisdom. Planning is not fear-based, it is stewardship. Learning is not insecurity, it is humility. If you want to keep what God releases, you must be willing to manage it with excellence. Sloppiness leaks resources. Excellence attracts expansion. God is opening this door not just for you, but through you. Your obedience will unlock provision for others. Your courage will inspire courage. Your discipline will model wisdom. Wealth that is hoarded becomes stagnant. Wealth that flows remains fresh. God is not interested in creating reservoirs that never release. God is interested in channels that distribute. When you understand this, wealth stops being a burden and starts being a joy. Do not rush the process, but do not resist the movement. Timing matters. Acting too early creates loss. Acting too late creates regret. Stay attentive, stay prayerful, stay disciplined. The door is opening, but you must walk through it intentionally. No one can carry you through. You must choose to step forward. Some of you will experience sudden shifts, unexpected opportunities, favor that seems disproportionate to your effort. That is not luck. That is alignment meeting timing. Others will experience gradual increase, steady growth, layer upon layer of progress. That is also God. Do not compare your journey to anyone else's. Comparison blinds gratitude and creates frustration. Focus on your assignment. Focus on your lane. Focus on your obedience. The wealth door God opens does not erase challenges. It changes their nature. Problems do not disappear. They evolve. But with increase comes capacity. What once overwhelmed you will become manageable. What once intimidated you will become familiar. Growth stretches you before it strengthens you. Do not retreat during the stretch. Remember this, missing the door does not always look like rejection. Many times it looks like distraction. Sometimes it looks like procrastination. Sometimes it looks like comfort. Comfort can be more dangerous than struggle because it numbs urgency. Stay alert, stay hungry, stay teachable. God is not asking you to chase wealth. God is asking you to walk in wisdom. When wisdom leads, provision follows. When obedience leads, increased response. When humility leads, favor activates. The door is opening because you are ready to lead yourself differently. If you feel a stirring inside you, that is not emotion, it is recognition. Something in you knows this message is not accidental. You are meant to hear this now. Timing is aligning. Awareness is awakening. Responsibility is increasing. The door is opening, and hesitation will not stop it, but hesitation can stop you from entering fully. Choose alignment over fear. Choose discipline over impulse. Choose vision over comfort. Choose obedience over excuses. The wealth door God is opening is not for spectators. It is for participants. It is for those who are willing to step forward even when the floor feels unfamiliar. To trust even when the path is not fully visible, to act even when the outcome is not guaranteed. God does not waste opportunities. God does not miscalculate timing. God does not open doors to tease you. If the door is opening, it is because provision has been prepared, capacity has been measured, and purpose has been assigned. Step forward with reverence. Step forward with courage. Step forward with wisdom. What you do next matters more than what you have done before. The past has trained you. The future will test you. Do not shrink now. Do not doubt now. Do not delay now. The door is opening, and those who recognize it will move differently, think differently, speak differently, and live differently. Because when God opens a wealth door, it is not just your finances that change. It is your identity, your authority, your responsibility, and your impact. And those who understand this moment will not look back. They will not second guess. They will not retreat into old patterns. Because they know that what lies ahead requires focus, courage, and obedience. And the door is already moving. The hinges are already shifting. The space is already being created, and your decision to step forward now will determine how fully you experience what God has prepared for you in this season of increase and alignment and responsibility and purpose, where hesitation no longer serves you and fear no longer defines you, and obedience becomes the language you live by as the door continues to open wider and wider and wider. There is another level to this moment that many people overlook, and it is this. When God opens a wealth door, He is not only changing your external circumstances, He is confronting your internal agreements. Every person lives by silent agreements, agreements formed by upbringing, culture, past failures, and unhealed disappointments. Some of you agreed long ago that money is dangerous, that wealth changes people, that success brings trouble. Those agreements have quietly governed your decisions, limited your courage, and filtered your expectations. Now God is calling you to break those agreements. You cannot walk into a new door while honoring old limitations. Renewal begins when you dare to believe that God's intentions toward you are good, purposeful, and expansive. God's provision is never detached from responsibility. When God increases you, He expects you to increase in wisdom, restraint, and foresight. Wealth without self-control becomes a master instead of a servant. That is why God often waits until you can say no to yourself before He gives you more to manage. Discipline is not restriction, it is protection. Every boundary you honor taught, it becomes a safeguard for tomorrow's increase. If you learn to govern your appetite now, your spending, your time, your emotions, you will not be governed by them when abundance arrives. Some of you have been frustrated because the door did not open the way you imagined. You expected a sudden transfer, an instant breakthrough, a dramatic shift. Instead, God has been opening your door through training, through learning, through exposure, through stretching assignments that felt beneath you or beyond you. But preparation is never beneath purpose. God does not elevate ignorance. God does not promote carelessness. God builds capacity layer by layer. If you despise the season of learning, you will mishandle the season of earning. Wealth doors often open first in the realm of responsibility before they open in the realm of resources. God watches how you manage access before He increases supply. How you handle information, how you treat opportunities, how you steward trust. If you misuse access, you disqualify yourself from increase. That is why integrity is not optional. It is foundational. Integrity keeps doors open longer than talent ever could. Skill may open a door, but character decides how long you stay inside. There is also a warning in this moment. When God opens a wealth door, counterfeit doors appear. Opportunities that promise quick gain without accountability. Shortcuts that compromise principles. Paths that bypass process. These doors are seductive because they appeal to impatience. But anything that pulls you away from wisdom will eventually pull you away from peace. God's door may require patience, but it never requires compromise. If an opportunity demands that you abandon integrity, it is not a blessing, it is a burden disguised as breakthrough. Do not confuse speed with favor. Some things grow fast and collapse just as quickly. God is not interested in you yielding something flashy that cannot last. God builds with endurance in mind. Sustainability is proof of wisdom. Longevity is evidence of alignment. When God opens your wealth door, it will be able to withstand pressure, scrutiny, and time. What God establishes does not need constant rescue. It stands because it is rooted in order. Another truth you must understand is this: wealth amplifies leadership. Whether you see yourself as a leader or not, increase will place influence in your hands. Influence demands accountability. People will watch how you move, how you speak, how you decide. Your example will teach even when you are silent. That is why humility must grow with success. Arrogance isolates, but humility attracts counsel, and counsel preserves wealth. Those who refuse advice eventually repeat mistakes. Those who welcome instruction refine their path. God also opens wealth doors to heal broken narratives. Some of you come from histories of struggle, cycles of debt, generational limitation. When God increases you, it is not just for comfort, it is to rewrite what seemed permanent. But breaking cycles requires intention. If you carry the same financial habits, the same emotional spending patterns, the same avoidance of responsibility, the cycle will continue despite new income. Transformation requires new thinking. You must learn to see money as a tool, not as a reward or an escape. Be careful not to attach your identity to wealth. Wealth is what you manage, not who you are. When identity becomes tied to possessions, fear multiplies. Fear of loss, fear of comparison, fear of failure. But When your identity is rooted in obedience, wealth becomes neutral. It can come and go without controlling you. God wants you to have wealth, but He never wants wealth to have you. Freedom is the goal, not accumulation. Some of you will need to unlearn urgency. Urgency often masks, erased as faith, but true faith is patient and precise. Rushing decisions because you fear missing out often leads to regret. God's timing does not panic. When the door is truly open, you do not have to force it. You will feel clarity, not chaos. Direction, not confusion. Peace, not anxiety. Learn to recognize the difference between pressure from fear and momentum from alignment. God is also testing your consistency. Many people can handle sudden increase, but cannot sustain daily discipline. Wealth is protected by routines. Saving regularly, giving thoughtfully, investing wisely, reviewing honestly. These habits may feel boring, but they are powerful. Consistency outperforms intensity every time. God often blesses the steady, not the flashy. The ones who show up when no one is watching. The ones who manage quietly. The ones who do not need applause to stay faithful. This season will require courage to say no. No to distractions that drain focus. No to relationships that exploit generosity. No to lifestyles that outpace wisdom. Saying no does not make you selfish. It makes you strategic. Every yes costs something. Time, energy, money, attention. You must decide what deserves your yes. God gives increase to those who value clarity. There will be moments when you feel undeserving again. When old insecurities resurface. When success feels unfamiliar. In those moments, remember this: God does not call the qualified, God qualifies the willing. Your role is not to argue with the door, but to walk through it responsibly. Self-doubt does not equal humility. Sometimes it is hidden pride, assuming you know better than God what you deserve. Trust the one who opened the door. As wealth increases, your inner life must deepen. Without grounding, success becomes noisy and hollow. Guard your inner quiet. Reflection sharpens judgment. Gratitude stabilizes ambition. Contentment keep desire from becoming greed. Godly wealth is calm. It does not need to boast. It does not need to prove. It simply functions with purpose. Understand that generosity is not a loss. It is alignment. Giving trains your heart to release control. It reminds you that provision flows through you, not from you. Generosity breaks fear. Stinginess strengthens it. When you give wisely, you declare that you trust God as your source, not your accumulation. That posture keeps the door open. Do not romanticize struggle now that the door is opening. Some people sabotage progress because struggle became familiar. They return to chaos because peace feels foreign. But you were not created to survive forever. You were created to steward. Allow your life to stabilize. Allow order to replace stress. Allow planning to replace panic. This is not betrayal of faith, it is fruit of faith. God is watching how you speak about wealth even now. Do you speak with resentment toward those who have more? That resentment will block your flow. Blessing resists bitterness. Honor opens access. When you celebrate others sincerely, you prepare yourself for your own season. What you criticize, you repel. What you respect, you attract. As the door opens wider, your decisions will carry more weight. Small mistakes will cost more. That is why wisdom must grow faster than income. Learn before you earn more. Ask before you act. Reflect before you expand. Wealth is easier to gain than to keep. Preservation requires foresight. There will be moments when God asks you to wait even after the door opens. Waiting does not mean denial, it means calibration. Some rooms require silence before speech. Some opportunities require observation before action. Impatience can turn blessing into burden. Trust the pacing of God. You are stepping into a season where excuses will no longer serve you. Responsibility replaces explanation. Ownership replaces blame. This is maturity. This is leadership. This is preparation for lasting influence. God is not just increasing what you have, He is increasing who you are becoming. Stay grounded. Stay alert, stay obedient. The door is opening and it will require a new version of you to walk through it fully. Not louder, wiser, not flashier, steadier, not rushed, rooted. God is not in a hurry, but God is intentional, and this moment is intentional. What lies ahead will demand courage, clarity, and consistency. But you are not stepping into this alone. The same God who opened the door will guide you within it. Walk forward with reverence. Walk forward with discipline. Walk forward with trust. The season of preparation is giving way to a season of stewardship, and those who recognize the weight of this moment will move with wisdom, because they know that when God opens a wealth door, it is not simply an invitation to receive, but a calling to manage, to build, to influence, and to honor the trust that has been placed in their hands. As the door continues to open and the responsibility continues to expand and the alignment becomes undeniable and the journey ahead unfolds step by step under the watchful guidance of God alone. This is the moment where everything you have heard must become something you live. Knowledge without application becomes weight instead of wisdom. Revelation without response becomes noise instead of power. God is not merely informing you, God is positioning you. The door opening before you is demanding a decision. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Neutrality is not humility, it is hesitation. And hesitation in a moment of divine movement is the quiet way opportunities pass unnoticed. You are being invited to rise to the level of trust God is extending to you. Understand this deeply. God's doors do not open endlessly. Timing is sacred. Moments have windows. When God signals movement, delay is not caution. It is resistance disguised as prudence. Many people miss their season not because they are rebellious, but because they are overly cautious. They wait for perfect conditions, complete clarity, total confidence. But perfect conditions do not exist at the threshold of growth. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty, it is obedience in the presence of it. When God opens a door, clarity follows movement, not the other way around. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to trust wisely. Trust built on relationship, on past deliverance, on survival. You should not have survived on doors God closed to protect you before opening this one to promote you. Look back and remember how many times you were preserved, redirected, restrained. Those were not coincidences, they were evidence. Evidence that God knows how to guide you, how to guard you, how to grow you. That same guidance does not disappear when wealth enters the picture. It becomes even more necessary. This season will require you to carry yourself differently. Not with arrogance, but with gravity. Not with pride, but with responsibility. People who are truly prepared for increase move with calm, not chaos. They do not announce every step. They measure their words. They do not rush to prove, they focus on building. They understand that visibility is a byproduct of value, not a substitute for it. Let your work speak. Let your discipline testify. Let your consistency preach. God is also refining your patience, because impatience can destroy in months what obedience built in years. Do not let excitement override wisdom. Enthusiasm is good, but it must be anchored. Anchored in planning, anchored in counsel, anchored in restraint. The door opening does not mean everything must happen at once. Growth that lasts unfolds in stages. Hano, each stage. Rushing dishonors the process that protects the promise. As wealth increases, silence will become a form of strength. Not everyone needs to know your next move. Not everyone needs access to your vision. Some people clap for beginnings, but resent outcomes. Guard what God entrusts to you. Privacy is not secrecy, it is stewardship. What you protect, you preserve. What you expose prematurely, you invite interference. There will be moments when pressure intensifies instead of easing. Do not misinterpret that as failure. Expansion creates resistance. New levels bring new challenges. The door opening does not remove warfare, it shifts it. The battles change form. Instead of scarcity, you battle distraction. Instead of lack, you battle excess. Instead of desperation, you battle complacency. Every level has its test. Stay alert. Remember that wealth does not validate you, it amplifies you. Whatever is inside will grow louder. That is why inner work must continue even as outer success increases. Stay honest with yourself. Stay accountable. Stay teachable. Pride whispers that you have arrived. Wisdom reminds you that you are always becoming. Do not forget gratitude. Gratitude anchors abundance. It keeps success from becoming entitlement. When you remember where you came from, you manage where you are with care. Gratitude turns provision into praise without words. It shapes your posture. It keeps your heart soft while your position rises. God is not finished with you when the door opens. God is beginning a new chapter of responsibility. This is not a reward for past faithfulness alone. It is an assignment for future obedience. What you do with what you receive will determine what comes next. Increase is progressive. Trust grows through demonstration. Some of you will look back one day and realize this was the moment everything shifted. Not because money appeared overnight, but because your thinking aligned, your courage activated, your discipline sharpened, and your obedience solidified. The door did not just open externally, it opened internally. You became ready. Stand firm now. Stand focused. Stand humble. Let fear fall away. Let excuses lose their voice. Let old limitations dissolve. You are not stepping into randomness. You are stepping into intention. The path ahead will require wisdom, patience, courage, and restraint, but you have been prepared more than you realize. God is opening the wealth door, and the greatest tragedy would not be failing, it would be shrinking back. Move forward with reverence, move forward with discipline, move forward with trust. Allow your life to become evidence that when God opens a door, those who walk through it with obedience, wisdom, and humility do not merely receive provision, they become stewards of purpose, carriers of responsibility, and living testimonies of alignment. As the door continues to open and the journey continues to unfold under the guidance and authority of God alone.